So I've been wanting to do a video like this for a very long time. It's just something that God's been constantly putting on my heart every single day. And I just feel like my story and kind of what I've been through as it pertains to music and the music industry and aspirations of wanting to, get into that. I feel like it can benefit so many people. I don't know who's going to watch this. I don't know how many people are going to watch it, but I do know for certain that the Lord is going to bring the people that need to see it to this video. So if you clicked on this, chances are you were meant to click on it, and I hope you take something from it. So pretty much just a little bit of background on me. I've been making music as a producer, beat maker, going on 5 years now. And ultimately, 2 months ago, I finally made a decision to quit. And this is after having I know I've got at least 1,000 hours, if not more, in FL Studio. Countless hours, sleepless nights, friendships, relationships, sacrificed. Even though I hate that word, but that's literally what it was. Like I neglected my social life. I neglected family. I neglected my own happiness in a way, all for this dream. Looking back, like it's kind of something that I'm grateful at the same time, because I feel like the Lord had to put me through that to bring me to where He has me today. And I think that's something that's not talked about a lot, is just the fact that each of us we all have our own journeys, and we're all going to go through different situations and different, trials. And, the way that, God may choose to reveal Himself to me, or, somebody else might be different than how He chooses to do it to you, or, to somebody else. So I just want to make that very clear, that each of our journeys are different. We're all on our own different paths. It's just important to remember that God is the one that's ultimately in control of all of our paths, and not ourselves. Back to the story, pretty much that's how I was. I was antisocial. I was, closed off. And it feels like as time went on, it got, progressively worse and worse. Like mentally and emotionally, I just kind of, it was like a downhill slope. The one constant through all of that was music. Don't get me wrong, I just started producing, 4 years ago. But at the same time, I've always been obsessed with music. Even when I was a kid, even in high school, and I'm going through all that, the one constant, the one thing that was for sure every day was, that I had a pair of earbuds in my ear. That's how I used to just escape, and that's how I used to block it all out. I've always wanted to make music, but I never really had the trigger to, push me. I guess that trigger for me was not wanting to go to college. And that was out of fear. That was out of, anger and frustration. That was probably the first time that I was 100% real with myself. And I was like, okay, well, I know that coming out of the environment I just came out of in high school, I wasn't ready to be in a college environment. I knew that I needed like at least a few months to a year to kind of just, prepare myself mentally and emotionally, and, kind of just prepare myself to be around other people again and just be in that environment. Because it was very hard for me coming out of high school to even like people just in a general sense. I would always say, I'll never forget, like back then, I would always just tell people like, I don't like people. And that may be some of you today that say that. That was me. And, I didn't want to go to college. I pleaded with my mom to just let me take a gap year. I'll find a job, save up some money. But at the same time, I didn't tell her what I was going through. And I feel like she always had a feeling that I was dealing with stuff, and she had a feeling that I just wasn't social and all that. But she never knew the full extent of how I felt. If you've dealt with mental issues, and you've dealt with anxiety and, depression, you know how detrimental it is, because not only does the one thing that you deal with get worse and worse, but it kind of just snowballs into things that are worse, and it snowballs and it just becomes this bigger problem. You might have anxiety, and that's going to snowball eventually and turn into depression. Or you might be lonely and it's going to turn into anxiety. Or you might have all three and that turns into being suicidal. It's funny how you can be the quiet kid that minds your business, but you're the biggest target at the same time. Pretty much my whole life, I've been, pretty shy and introverted and kind of quiet and laid back. I had a pretty rough, I want to say from 5th grade to, my senior year of high school. I was always bullied and picked on and antagonized, and, people just like messing with me. And that whole experience, it it bred a lot of pain and frustration and bitterness, and it was just a cocktail of emotions and feelings that I just kept bottled up inside me for so long. And part of me was looking for an outlet, and the other part of me was just looking for a means to, express myself and, have a voice, because I thought the problem was that people didn't like me because I was so quiet and I didn't really express myself. So music was going to be my way to do that. And music was going to be my way to vent and to talk and to connect with other people, since I felt like I couldn't do it socially, just a normal way, just being a normal person. I couldn't connect with people. So music was my means to do that. Half of it was out of rebellion. I didn't want to go to college. I just had no motivation for school coming out of high school. After that experience, I was like, well, I don't even want to put myself in a situation again where people would dislike me or reject me. Like, I just don't even want to be in that environment. And I was scared. I didn't admit it at the time, but I'll admit it now. I was afraid, and it was like the perfect fusion of timing mixed with opportunity. It was like, okay, well, here I am. I don't want to be in college, but I'm here. So what can I do to distract me from the fact that I'm here? I was being forced out of my comfort zone, and I didn't like that. So, I put myself right back in my comfort zone, and, music was the drug for that. Music was the facilitator. I'm making beats all day. Pretty much my routine in college at that time was, if I went to class, then come home, get food, do whatever, or try to do whatever little homework I had to do, if I even did it. And then I was just in my room with the door closed on FL Studio from, whatever time in the afternoon, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock to, 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, and then repeat the next day, if I even went to sleep. Music became an idol for me. And the Bible is very clear when it says that, we shouldn't, engage in idolatry. Idols don't just have to be, humans or another false god. Idols can be anything that you place above the Lord. That could be, money, your job, a relationship could be an idol. Anything that you feel, is God for you at that point in time, that's an idol. Again, I didn't get that at the time. As far as Christianity goes in my walk with Christ, based on my experiences, in school and, getting bullied and everything I went through, in my head, and just, physically everything I went through, I didn't want anything to do with God, because my mindset was, well, if God is real and God loves me, well, why am I suffering? Why do I pray for you to take me? I would cry out to God, and I would make small little attempts to pray. It was never anything serious. Like, obviously I wasn't taking it serious, but I would try sometimes and just hope that, okay, maybe he'll answer my prayers. I'm going to give you the progression. So high school, don't believe in God. Freshman year of college, believe in God. Sophomore year, believe in God. Starting to kind of, feel him calling me, feel him, feel the Spirit pulling me back to, back to the kingdom. And junior year, believe in God, finally starting to take my walk serious and put effort into it. And we're now about to be in my senior year, and I feel like I've been born again finally. And for the first time in my life, I can say that I actually have a relationship with the Lord, and, I have dialogue with the Lord, and I can confidently say that I recognize his voice when he speaks to me. That happened over the course pretty much from high school to my senior year of college. Back to the music side of it, like, I was rebelling against myself, because instead of wanting to just change and improve and become a more social person and, grow my confidence, I chose to just numb all that with music. And I just chose to keep myself in this little box in my comfort zone and just, express myself through music. That was me. So around, I want to say, I guess the point I'm trying to make is just how caught up and how, just distracted I was. And I was trying to force my will as opposed to the will of God and, what God wanted for me. And there were so many opportunities that I passed up, that who knows where I would have ended up. I've always had just thoughts about the music industry and how wicked and messed up of a place it is. And I just knew that, the beautiful thing is, though, that you got to remember is that, the Lord is with us, through thick and thin. So even if you're neglecting him, even if you're not a Christian, even if you're not saved, God is still in the room. I can't even begin to tell you the amount of nights that I was right here on this bed and, in tears, like, Lord, can you just take me? Lord, I don't want to be here anymore. Lord, I'm ready to go. Here I am right now. The Bible tells us he'll never leave us nor forsake us. That's a promise. As far as music goes, I just knew that it wasn't worth it. Giving my soul up wasn't worth going to hell. I knew that, everything that I had been through up to this point, I thank the Lord for opening my eyes to this. But it was a test. Just because you go through trials and just because you go through tribulations doesn't mean that, you aren't blessed or that, God doesn't love you. He loves you very much. That's why he puts you through stuff. If you aren't going through anything in life, I'd be pretty worried if I were you. I'd probably, have to double check on my faith and double check that I was actually, a Christian and I was actually saved. The Bible tells us, blessed are the ones who he disciplines. That's truth. One thing people have to understand is that, being a Christian is not just it's not a job title. It's not just I'm a Christian, and, the next day you're still out in the world. You still want things of this world. You still live in sin willingly. I feel like that's what turns a lot of people away from Christianity, is because there's a lot of people that claim to be Christian, but they don't really live it. Like they're not about it. They talk the talk, but they don't walk the walk. And I feel like it's so easy to do that in this world and they actually encourage it. And that alone, that was just another big confirmation for me, because I was like, well, if I'm going to do this, if I'm truly going to follow the Lord with all my heart and all my mind and all my spirit, I'm not going to do it and be lukewarm. It's funny how the Lord took that philosophy and flipped it for the kingdom. Because that's just something I felt about music. That's why I was so adamant about dropping out of school, because I'm like, well, if I'm going to be about this, I'm going to be all the way in it. I'm not just going to do it as a hobby, and the Lord pretty much took that and turned it around and said, okay, we'll be about that for the kingdom. Understanding that, what I thought was best for me ultimately would have led me to my destruction. And I thank God for, waking me up when he did. The Lord knows everything that we're going to go through in life before we even get here. Before I was born, before you were born, God already knew what you're going to struggle with. God already knew the plan he had for your life. God already knew the people you were going to talk to, the people that were going to hurt you in your life. He already knew exactly what struggles you were going to have to deal with. He already knew. And there's a special comfort and feeling that comes with knowing, not only does he love us, but he's going to guide us and he's going to take us through things to build us up so we can handle the blessings that he wants to give us. A lot of people pray for blessings and they treat God like a genie in a bottle, and they say, well, God, I want that new job. God, I want that new car. God, I want a girlfriend. God, I want a boyfriend. And they only pray because they want things. They don't pray because, they want to seek God and they want to do his will. And it's not about us. All of the artists and the producers that I kind of just looked up to and, idolized at that time, I took a really close look at them and I realized, they're just all so broken. And not only are they broken, but they're all so lost. How can a celebrity or entertainer ever be sad? They're famous. You got money, you rich, you got the fame. And that's kind of when a light bulb went off for me, because it's like, well, they have the world, but they're still unhappy. And that kind of validated what I'd always kind of had a feeling about, which was just how the industry works and just how, life works as it pertains to being creative. But I couldn't see it, and the Lord had to kind of just open my eyes and take me through everything he took me through. All of us are sinners and he lets us go through what we go through so that he can show up. Think of somebody that has all the money in the world. For them, they might say, well, why do I need to pray? All my needs are met. I have $1 million. I have a mansion. I have, 5 cars. What do I need to pray to God for? This is my first video, but I just pray that, it reaches whoever it needs to reach. And I pray that you accept this message. And I pray that the Lord can reveal himself to you in a way that nobody else will understand. And I pray that you accept that message.